It is Dom time. Welcome in, everyone. Rather than just the usual when we have situation looting, outright craziness last night, I think there's new ground broken here. There are at least three things I saw that were a bit new. One, this police commissioner, acting police commissioner, Stanford, I think he infused a difference. You saw if you're on social media at all. And sadly, the TV news doesn't seem to want to headline this. The Inquirer called it stealing. No, Philadelphia Inquirer, it's looting. It's outright looting. But I think Commissioner Stanford, the sense of cops, they use physical force to put down that looting. I know it's kind of a confusing thing, though, when you have Apple and Lululemon, both of whom don't seem to want the police, and Lululemon
Coming after all the fruits.
doesn't care about shoplifting, if you remember. But that's one thing, the new police commissioner. And you can't just be on Twitter or social media just saying the same old stuff and not taking a look at what's in front of you. The police did put this down. Now, I'd like to see them do more, of course. We're not going to see the days of Frank Rizzo. But it's obvious. If Danielle Outlaw were there, first of all, she wouldn't be there. She'd be polishing her nails somewhere. This guy was there, and I think he addressed it correctly. May hear him on the show. Dan's trying to get him on. Two, it exposed what goes on here, how organized this is. There were caravans of cars going from place to place in order to loot. And they have a map now. They have new locations. I don't remember the Roosevelt Mall up there on Cottman being looted the last time as a prime spot. Of course, Port Richmond, that's hot. Immediately, they were going to where Dan is.
And Chop is flying over all night, Tom.
There you go. No ATMs were blown up this time. And they also went to medical marijuana Curaleaf.
Oh, no.
Out there on City Line Avenue.
Yeah, that's a necessity.
Make sure we say line that separates the city from the suburbs.
That's mothers walking away with diapers right there, Dom.
Yeah, 5058 City Line Avenue. And it is inside the city of Philadelphia, Dan. It's pretty close. You know, I was going to make the point, this is coming to the suburbs shortly when they run out of targets here. The other thing, I can't tell you with all these police sources, John McNesby will be here at 1. I don't know if John McNesby, Dan, knows if Meatball was officially arrested last night.
Meatball, yeah.
Meatball apparently is an influencer. The New York Post has better coverage on Meatball than the local, of course.
Mm-hmm.
She has about 650,000 followers.
Yeah, I don't get, well, I get, if you go to our Instagram page, she also, moonlights as an OnlyFans star.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know who's paying to see Meatball naked, but there are people out there, allegedly.
Several people put that up on Twitter, and I don't know how I can point you toward it. One guy had quite a line about, if you're interested in this woman. I'm not going to dabble in that, but here's a little bit.
Stay away from that.
I believe this is Meatball. This is when they were attacking an Aldi grocery store.
Oh, yeah, also necessities.
Yeah, right, necessities again. This is cut 9. Here's what Meatball, the influencer, was saying.
Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Yes. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat.
Well, she really wants people to eat.
It's amazing.
Oh, there's more.
So everybody must eat. That's what I'm talking about. Rest well, Eddie. Rest well, Eddie.
Rest well, Eddie. Yeah, we're really honoring you.
Yeah, that was a nice touch there.
Look, here come more people. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
So apparently she was arrested or detained, Dan, because she was at the place where they broke into the state liquor store. I'm not sure which one, if it was in Northeast or not. And she did have some bubbly in her hands. Now, we don't know.
How dumb, if you're going to loot, how dumb do you have to be, first off, to loot, but then to go inside a state store? Like If there's any store on that street that could get you in more trouble, I don't know
Right.
if there is one.
Well, I still maintain overall, and I still have a lot of people hitting me on Twitter saying, "Come on," they don't get it. Twitter is not a world of nuance, a balance of anything. The police did a great job last night. They need more of them. Stanford, for a first step, took a pretty bold step. But remember, Jim Kenney's not going to be mayor, so he took the right step. He's no Daniel Outlaw. You have somebody who's actually a cop as the police commissioner.
So they're going to be facing state charges, I would assume, for being in a state store. Would you think?
No.
Because I would have a question follow-up, though. If they're stealing marijuana in a state where it's medical only,
Right.
and they're
Federal violation.
are they
yeah.
getting are going to hit with federal
Well, they
violations
should.
because of that?
They should. Now,
Oh gosh, what
that
idiots.
brings us to the next point, Dan. And look, you can live getting into a cycle of depression, always looking at the downside of this, and sometimes in talk radio, there's a lot of downside. I get that. McNesby's going to be here, and his mantra is the cops have to continue to arrest en masse, charge them with the highest they can on the scene, whatever Krasner does. Here's the reason why. When we follow up on this, Krasner's going to find reasons to dismiss all of this or to downgrade it tremendously. I mean, shoplifting is not anything, a summary offense. If it's under 1,000, really, if it's under 10,000 with him. So why should cops go? You saw the violence, subduing these people, engage in all that. Because if they don't, Krasner's going to walk around saying, well, I can't lock them up. It's up to the police. Bring it to me and we'll put the charges on them. So I know this is maddening to think what we saw last night, that probably few, if any of these people will actually do any real jail time. That would be my so what are you going to do? You're going to roll over and give up because of that? How are you winning if you do that? And the police need more support here. I wish I could identify the cops, the bicycle cops in front of that. It was the Lululemon store. That's where it was the most intense that I saw, wrestling these people to the ground. They weren't just chasing them away. They were actually apprehending them. They're grabbing them around the throat and pulling them down.
Got to get those $140 leggings.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the worst store of all, Lululemon, to go there. Of course, Foot Locker. I didn't notice if the fashion district was hit. Burlington Coat Factory was safe, I think, for the night. All right, so 855-839-1210.
It's so confusing that they call it the fashion district because there's no fashion there yet.
No,
15th and Chestnut, they have all these stores with like Lululemon.
Well, I did think Burlington Coat Factory was over there. The gallery's there, the former gallery.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
yeah,
it is.
if you're not familiar, fashion district's what they renamed that gallery.
Yeah, that's
there's no
exactly
actual
what they
fashion
did.
district.
So all in all, this was a different night. Now, I think only 15 to 20 were arrested, but given everything, given the what it would have been like under Daniel Outlaw, you can remember when they burned the Rizzo statue, the George Floyd summer, she allowed them to throw a grand piano through a window and a guy sitting there on the street playing it over there on Walnut Street.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah. Now, could they be more proactive? Could they have realized that this was edging to happen and have more cops in there even and arrest more? I'd like to see a few thousand arrested. Yeah. But all in all, there was a difference here. And we should accentuate that and build on it, even though Krasner's still there. I mean, that's what the ultimate problem is. The media is the other problem. Their coverage of this, I actually heard one say bad behavior. It's criminal behavior. That's what we're seeing here. This is just out of control. All right. So 855-839-1210. You can get on board.
I think this should be added to any case to impeach Larry Krasner.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Did you see my tweet last night?
I did not.
All right. So I went on a rant because I think this is straight up proof that he has a nefarious desire to drive unrest in Philadelphia. So he sees the video, the second video that comes out shown to court, and that's why the charges are dismissed. But he charges the guy with murder, continues with it, knowing that unrest is going to happen when the charges are inevitably dismissed. So the guy goes back to the drawing board, right? And knowing that this unrest is happening and knowing that the charges are probably going to be dismissed again,
Mhm.
goes and refiles for the exact same thing. So I don't think he can hide the fact that he is being intentionally nefarious anymore.
Well, he is impeached. He is the impeached Larry Krasner.
I'm sorry, for the case
Yeah.
for removal.
Removal.
Yes.
Removing him. Now, another person that ought to be removed or looked at is our buddy Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro endorsed Kendra Brooks. Kendra Brooks is the Socialist Working Families Party city council person. She tweets out during this is all about race. That's all it is, killing people, etc. Josh Shapiro endorsed her over. Bob Brady came on the show, other liberal Democrats who are more mainstream. He endorsed this rabid socialist anti-cop to fund the police. He never, the media, some of them just can't connect the dots. Some of them don't want to do it. There's all kind of dot connecting to this. Now, Jim Kenney tweets out how wonderfully the police did. Also, we'll get to it coming up. Kenney wrote a letter to Philadelphia City Council, Dan. He is vetoing the so-called supervised injection sites, and he says those that vote for stopping it are anti-science. Can you imagine this guy hanging out at Wegmans half the time, calling anybody anti-science or anti-science? The people that voted for this in Philadelphia City Council.
They have to realize what they're doing to this. Like right now, NBC News, crime and consequences on the Chiron on the bottom.
Yeah.
This is national. It's a montage of the crap they see going on here in Philadelphia. Nationally, we are now known as that city, Dom. That city that nobody wants to move to.
Yeah, exactly right. So why does Jim Kenney care? They didn't impeach him. They didn't go after him when he said he didn't want to be mayor anymore. They let him play out the string. Well, he's really playing it out. All right, let me give it a side question.
Hey, before we go there,
yeah,
youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Dining with Dom every day from noon until 1. Minnie, who lives down in Texas, has a question for you, Dom. Just wondering, is a state liquor store owned by Pennsylvania, or is it privately owned and franchised through Pennsylvania using their...
It's owned by Pennsylvania.
It's owned straight up by the state.
Oh, yeah. That's why it's called state stores. Gotcha. That's the whole idea. They have a monopoly on this. They don't allow private sale of this except beer distributors. It's all complicated. Yeah, but they're not going to be charged with state crimes. They're going to be charged, and Josh Shapiro is not going to intervene and ask for that, certainly. What's Josh Shapiro say about what happened here last night?
Yeah.
Be interesting to hear the great man tell us about it. By the way, Brown University going all out. It never ends, and we may hear from Maureen Faulkner tomorrow. The music of Mumia Abu-Jamal, what he listened to in prison. They have a whole part of a library, Ivy League, devoted to Mumia Abu-Jamal. I think they paid him a couple $100,000 for his memoirs and his works. They're holding a musical festival around the music of Mumia Abu-Jamal. It just does not end. And my fear is that Krasner, that's the crown jewel for him to get Mumia out of jail. All right, so let me give you the side question. Yesterday, when this broke right before the show that Officer Dial was going to be released by the judge on all charges, we started to think and had a conversation about great lawyers. McMonagle, his attorney, both McMonagle and Fortunato Perry are tremendous defense attorneys. McMonagle is the one you see in the news more. Who is the lawyer? If you were on trial, maybe for your life or maybe just something significant, I'd rather broaden it to something significant. It could be a lot of money, could be your life, it could be you be imprisoned. What lawyer, real or fictional, would you want as your lawyer? Now, you think of your own motivations because they're a weasel and they're going to get you off, or because you just have such respect for them. Real or fictional? I'm going to take off. I want Atticus Finch. Big time.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. Stand up, your father's walking by, To Kill a Mockingbird. But I would say if it were a criminal matter, let's say Dan did something, I couldn't take it anymore. I would want Chuck Peruto Sr. He's the best that I've had, not Junior. He's the best that I've ever seen here in Philadelphia. Even though, Dan, I told people to boo him when he went into a restaurant, and that caused a big thing. There was a big, you can imagine, yeah. I wanted hundreds of people to do it.
Was Peruto a defense attorney?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. He defended the people that were involved in the murder of Eddie Pollock. It's a famous case with 911 being called and no response, and this kid was killed in Fox Chase, Eddie Pollock, Polec. And I couldn't take it because he kind of put Eddie Pollock on trial. And one thing led to another. Oh, man, there was a showdown over that. But for a defense attorney, I can't think of anybody that I've asked people over the years better than Chuck Peruto Sr. How about you, Dan? Who are you taking off the board?
Well, I'm going to look at Minnie's answer first, just because I don't know if it's a good answer or a horrible answer.
Okay.
But she writes in Saul Goodman. She'd want to represent her.
That is a great.
You think it's a good answer?
Yes, he's really good.
I-
No, I mean, he's completely. You've lost all sense of respect for yourself.
Yeah, it's like, it's
Particularly if it's a more petty matter, Dan. He can twist and turn better than anybody. Yeah.
and I'm going to take off from the books of Michael Connolly. I think you watched the series. Matthew McConaughey played him first. It was not that good of a movie,
Okay.
kind of boring. But recently, Netflix released a series called The Lincoln Lawyer, starring a lawyer named Mickey Haller, who I think he works out of his car. He's always working 24/7. He is a
Right.
recovering drug addict, but he's known as the best lawyer in the show in Los Angeles. I want Mickey Haller representing me, Dom.
Yeah, not McConaughey. He is the most narcissistic, self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, yeah, he's a beautiful-looking man, no doubt. But other than that, yeah, I couldn't do an interview with
So I
this
remember
guy.
you offhand mentioning that Ro really enjoyed The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix.
Yeah, she
did
did.
you watch it at
No,
all?
I did not.
Okay,
No.
gotcha.
No, didn't see any of it.
I'm
No.
curious your opinion on the head
No.
Mickey Haller's actor, Manuel Garcia Rufo, is not that good in the show, in my
All right.
opinion. Yeah.
So we got a good number of them out there. All-time lawyer, something significant you're on trial for. This coming off this release yesterday, and McMonigal is one of the reasons why. 855-839-1210. That's how you get in. AT&T and Verizon Wireless. All that you need to do is just push pound 1210. And is there an upside from yesterday? Are the Philadelphia police feeling they can actually arrest people? Those arrests were pretty physical. Correct, though. And so what if Krasner releases all these people? You got to keep on arresting them. Arrest more of them and keep on arresting them. That's the struggle. He's not going to go easily. You know, this is the great white whale. Doesn't come down easily. 855-839-1210. Tom Giordano Show, welcome in. So I just saw this, the Public Defender Association in Philadelphia. Instead of, thinking there's something good here, that you actually could put a justification defense up and have the judge dismiss everything, they're mad about Officer Dial. And they're saying that we will go forward now pushing even more to get the same results for our clients. Guess what? Many of your clients are just criminals who are committing criminal offenses time after time. So you want to let more out to attack us. That's the Defender Association, though, weighing in on the Officer Dial decision yesterday. This is going to be fascinating to see what happens here next. As predicted, though, you're going to see Krasner, a lot of these are juveniles, do almost nothing with it. Can't give up on it. Got to keep arresting people and doing it in a manner that they did last night. Those bicycle cops sends a message, at least under this acting commissioner, police might actually be allowed to be police. So we'll see if that guy gets attacked by Jim Kenney internally or not, or if he's able to continue. Now, I mentioned Jim Kenney. It's the science guy now. Jim Kenney, science guy. Bill Nye. Well, Jim Kenney wrote a letter to City Council. He said the bill that they passed to prevent these so-called safe injection sites is troublingly anti-science and misleading. He says these are not supervised injection sites. They're overdose prevention centers. Hey, Jim Kenney, put down your Orwell. I don't ever think you read it. You're just using the usual progressive language here.
Who's read more books, me or Jim Kenney?
Yeah, there you go. Mr. Science, Jim Kenney, saying that they're creating fear, these people. No, these city council representatives are saying in their communities, people don't want it. Now, Kenney doesn't care about that. He only cares about the Jesuits over at St. Joe's and his own progressive mantra. Kenney went on to say in the letter to the city council, extensive scientific evidence from sites in other countries shows that supervised consumption sites prevent fatal overdoses and reduce public drug use. They do not promote drug use. They simply make it non-fatal. They do not encourage drug use out in the neighborhood. They bring it inside. Hey, buddy, guess what? They normalize it. That's what we're doing here. And you, by allowing Kensington to degenerate over these 8 years into something that the Mexican government uses to try to tell in PSAs, hey, don't do drugs. You'll end up like people in Jim Kenney's Kensington. Now we're anti-science. How many times do these progressives resort to just name calling? We're stupid. We're dumb. He's smart. The only people on his side is the avowed socialist, Kendra Brooks, endorsed by Josh Shapiro, and this Jamie Gauthier, who's the representative from West Philly. Now, the last time a vote was up, she skipped the vote saying she had a family situation. Will she skip it again? It was 13-1. Now they're going to have to vote again on this veto by Jim Kenney. Is that going to scare them somehow or another? That they're going to be labeled anti-science? So I saw the upside last night. You can see just with a normal police commissioner allowing cops to do their job. The downside is how organized and emboldened these mobs are. Car caravans, Meatball, the social influencer,
Meatball,
using a lot of social media to tell them where to go and what to do. And they've widened where they're going to hit now. It's almost as if there was it's the Normandy invasion. It's not just Omaha Beach, it's Juneau and Gold and the whole thing.
Meatball wasn't the same girl demanding her sandwich at Wawa, was she?
She looks a little bit like it. It could be Meatball. I didn't know about the OnlyFans thing. I was wondering why she was in a bathtub on Twitter. And
you saw that picture?
Yeah, people. Yeah, oh my God!
I know in her bio, there's a link to it.
Oh, okay, but 600, an influencer, Meatball, egging on the rioting last night and the looting. Just incredible.
How do you get the name Meatball is the question.
Yeah, I haven't seen her credits yet to know how she got Meatball. Maybe it was a meatball sandwich, the woman at Wawa. But the takeaway from this is the police did a good job. I mean, there's no doubt. You just can't go nuts and say it's all of the same sort of thing. There was a noticeable difference in this. The best coverage, of course, is always, and some of you are asking, well, why don't we hear Steve Keeley anymore? Well, he's on the 10 o'clock news and schedules are a little bit different.
That sucks.
Keeley came on last night. I watched the 10 o'clock Channel 29 news just because of him. He must have had 5 tips on stuff as he was doing his stand-up there.
It's amazing.
The anchors clearly couldn't keep up with him. They wouldn't know Philadelphia. And cops it's almost like they're coming up and dropping slips of paper to him. Say this is what's happening over here. It's stunning to me. They should have just given him a half hour to lay that out. He had it exactly right, what was going on. The Apple Store, their products shut down. Some of them might be resold to you at bargain basement prices. So what do we intuit from this that the mob's into? Curaleaf.
I got another thing.
Yeah.
Got one! Uh-huh! 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 Free iPhones! Free iPhones! Free iPhones!
Yeah, free
Got
iPhones.
security running.
Free iPhones, yeah. All right, so we got a lot going on here in Philadelphia. We've got the side question. Let's
So with the Apple Store, I was hearing stories from friends down
Yeah.
there in Rittenhouse Square that there was just MacBooks strewn about and iPhones because there's a security feature that once they leave the store, they just
Yes.
make an incredibly loud chirping noise. And
They do, but still, you don't have the product
Just-
anymore. I don't think you can resell them at a bargain basement prices or something, you know? I don't know why they didn't lock up too. Didn't they see this
Just,
coming?
the planning of these dopes is just moronic. I mean, a state store, a federal crime with
Lululemon.
marijuana.
Yeah, and we're looking for somebody that's smoking dope with $140 leggings on that may have something to do with meatballs and OnlyFans. Oh my God. That is just only in Philadelphia. All right, let's go to Bob. We're looking for a lawyer you would want on your side if you had something significant you were being defended from. Let's go to Bob in South Jersey. Hey, Bob, thanks for starting us off. What do you have today?
Tom, happy Wednesday. My defense lawyer would be my cousin Benny.
Well,
You can't lose.
it would be funny. That's true. He's in a Southern court and he was able to win. Yeah, so Joe Pesci.
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. 2 youths.
All right. It's a good start. Real or fictional? It might be a real lawyer. One that you've heard of, maybe famous. Dan gave one. I've given a fictional and a real one. Hit us with that. Coming off the great work yesterday where Brian McMonagle had a lot to do with the outcome for Officer Dial, even though the city's not going to let it go. Now, John McNesby here at 1. We're going to talk with Bill Hemmer next, though. I'm not sure if he's at the Reagan Library or not. Tonight, of course, is the big debate. Give you a breakdown on that and what to expect, what to watch for. I don't think at 9 o'clock tonight the numbers are going to be overwhelming, but we'll see. Let me tell you about FanDuel for a moment. Hey, get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Just place 3-leg same-game parlay in this week's game between the Lions and Packers. You'll get bonus bets back even if you don't win. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, anything that you conceive of. And if you want to do a parlay, they have some pre-made parlays for you, or make up your own. Build your own, choose from one of those popular same-game parlays. As I said, pre-built right there on the FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/Dom so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay in America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/Dom. FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 1210 WPHT, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You have to be 21 plus, present in Pennsylvania. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire days after receipt, 7 days after receipt. Maximum refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms. Sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
but don't put beer. Goes good with a lake and a lake. Goes good with a dock and a dock.
Dom Giordano's show. Another big debate day. Winnowed down the field by Asa Hutchinson, who Trump just can't take enough shots at. But the Montana guy's still in there, and it's at the Reagan Library, helping us break that down from Fox News Channel. See him every morning with Dana Perino. Bill Hemmer here on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Bill, welcome in. Thanks for joining us.
What's happening, brother? Good to be with you.
Well, Bill, the last debate, big success. It was very lively, and people got to see Nikki Haley and a couple of others, I think, come out pretty well. For this debate, it seems to be a little bit of the air out. Tell us what you think on Fox Business tonight. We're going to see that might, move the needle for somebody in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, interesting question. I guess that's why we watch, right, Dom? I think that Milwaukee was more or less an introduction. It's like the first chapter of a new novel that's going to play out up until Super Tuesday and maybe beyond next year. I think what most people saw. Here's the way I score it. They saw a pretty effective Nikki Haley who was feisty, and since that time, some of the polling suggests that she's gained a few points here and there, places like New Hampshire. I think she has a higher bar tonight, because Milwaukee was a clean slate, and it's kind of like, the Eagles playing their first game of the year. What are they going to do for me in game 2, right?
Yep.
So I think that's one thing to think about. They're all Republicans, Dom. Who's going to go after Joe Biden? Frankly, when I was in Milwaukee last month, I was like, I don't think this topic's come up enough. I
agree. Yeah, Bill, you triggered something in me too. Fox Business here with Stuart Varney, and Fox Business is the brand of it this time. In addition to Fox News, they're not talking about inflation enough. That's the number one thing Americans care about. I think it was on with you, Karl Rove, today from the library, or maybe it was on the show after you, talking about that is not being talked about enough.
Well, I would agree with you, and you're right. They did talk about it. It had to do with the cost of living. We did a poll on economic concerns. So, 91% said they were concerned with inflation and high prices, which you can understand. You go out to dinner, you get the bill. It's like, what? Filling up your car, gasoline. The second issue most concerning on the economic polling was housing, the cost of it. The third issue was taxes. The fourth issue was paying your bills, which I kind of think goes into all of that, really. So we'll see. We'll see where they go. But I guess the point I was making a moment ago was who goes after Biden's policies. It's at the Ronald Reagan Library. Who channels him best? Does anyone? Ronald Reagan is Mike Pence's hero. Can he make a convincing argument that he's walking in Reagan's shadow today? I thought Pence was pretty aggressive in the second hour of that first debate. The other thing I'd say, Dom, is who behaves. Dana and I were talking last week. We were like, when someone interrupts another person or two people start screaming at each other, the audience doesn't hear anything. And I think to be an effective communicator, you have to know how to stick the verbal landing. And if you do, that clip has a likelihood of being replayed a lot in the coming days. And then you get this free earned media. And the other thing I would add, Dom, is Trump is not in the room. But let me tell you, Trump is definitely in the room. And all you have to do is look at the polling from ABC and NBC this past Sunday.
Oh, without a doubt. Bill, have you done events? I don't know if you have. I did my show from the Reagan Library.
Oh, have I been to the Reagan Library? Yes, many times.
What a setting. I haven't been to every presidential library, but it's hard to imagine. Maybe the Kennedy, it was one of the first. But the setting of that in Simi Valley is incredible. It makes an unbelievable backdrop.
I agree with you 1,000%. I think it's With all due respect to the other presidents, setting up a library is not an easy thing, but I think the Reagans did it best. And a lot of it has to do with the property that they acquired in Simi Valley. For your listeners, it sits on top of, I don't know, do you call it a hill or a small mountain?
Small mountain, yes. Well,
yeah,
the Reagan as the rancher or the cowboy, too, as beautifully done when you come in, yeah.
And when you think about when they acquired that land, there was no housing in that area. Now there is, and there's a build-up, business community nearby. It's not substantial like Los Angeles, but it's pretty well developed. But the other thing is that they've got great exhibits about world history that relate to Reagan, and they've got great exhibits that relate to our own history today, which I think is phenomenal. Here is the story I like to tell about the Reagan Library. I covered his funeral. And when Reagan told the world about his Alzheimer's condition, the story goes that he went into his library, I think it was in Santa Barbara, and he wrote this letter to America, and he talked about the sunset of his life. And I think one of his wishes was to be buried at sunset, or the final goodbye was at sunset. Well, when he died, and they held the service at Simi Valley. Then they came to Washington and they went back to Simi Valley, to the Reagan Library. There was June swoon that entire time, and there was just packed in fog all week long. And the moment that Nancy and the kids said goodbye to him, the clouds lifted and the sun came out, and the sunset was perfect.
For drama, for the great speaker, that speech, Reagan D-Day 60, I guess it was 60-year anniversary. It's pretty hard to imagine anybody matching it.
Yeah. Listen, we've been playing some clips this week about what Reagan said during his campaign of 1980, and it's pretty remarkable stuff when you think about it, because I think a lot of the issues that he was talking about back then are sort of, pretty much in the news now. He was talking about limited government and fewer regulations that allow you, fewer taxes, which allow you to keep more of your money and make, have greater freedom for yourself and your family. He also talked, peace through strength was his big theme during his political career. But, he made a strong statement about, the United States of America. And this kind of goes to the Ukraine question today. And that is, you don't have it. What he was saying is that you don't have a choice. You're the United States. And if not for you, then who? And I think as we look back on those speeches from 1980, there's just a lot of relevance I see in the issues that we're covering now.
Oh, without a doubt. Bill, thank you so much. It's always really a thrill to have you on. And tonight, your partner should do great in the hot seat tonight.
Yeah, you bet. She's going to do great. So will Stewart and Ilya Calderon from Univision. So we're sending them good vibes. And I hope Americans take time to watch it and to listen and to make up their own minds.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks very much.
You got it. Take care.
All right, Bill Hemmer, Dan, every bit as good as the last time we had him on. Now, to that point, though, there is tension here. And Dan, Bill knows that. That's why he was treading lightly. On the Ukraine matter, I'm not in Ronald Reagan's camp. I'm in the Trump, Rand Paul camp. And Rand Paul will be here at 2 o'clock today. He's got a new book out October 10th on Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, of course, now there's more evidence going over to the CIA to try to get them to cover up, is the allegation, the origin of the virus, which we knew and we know now is Wuhan. Rand Paul's got a lot to say on that, and Ukraine, and the shutdown coming up this week. But the Reagan Library, as beautiful as it is, has been taken over, in my view. You do have people on there like Paul Ryan. There's a couple of others on their board. And they helped to lead the charge going after Trump. I mean, it's sad to see that polarity between two great presidents, Trump and Ronald Reagan. But Ronald Reagan, in my view, will always be in the top 5 presidents. Unrivaled, his ability to motivate, to persuade. And you just heard this. And the library itself speaks of that, the perfect blend of the mountains, the sea, the land there. It is, if you ever have a chance, you're anywhere near it, it is spectacular. And I remember broadcasting from there. And Dan, I was talking about how there was a big progressive rally here in Philadelphia and how much trash they left behind. It never fails. All right. Got the side question going on. 855-839-1210. You get on board AT&T and Verizon Wireless. You just push pound 1210. Hey, for all seafood lovers who still haven't tried Captain Chucky's crab cakes, what are you waiting for? All Captain Chucky's, they're always trying to keep things new and fresh. And if you haven't tried the new banging crab ravioli, lobster ravioli with their amazing blush sauce, now's the time to do it. I hear great things, too, about this brand new product, the Philly Famous Clams Casino, mouth-watering edition. Ask your local Chucky's for availability. And Captain Chucky's, of course, continues with several choices of breaded, non-breaded crab cakes, literally a crab cake for everybody. Dessert, soup, sides, appetizers, my personal favorite. That's the Dom roll. You got to try that at least once. And they use only the highest quality ingredients. The Gulf shrimp, a huge hit, always wild caught. It's never farm raised. Why not visit one of Captain Chucky's near you? There are 19 of them, soon to be 20. New owners, Frank Velacci and Michaela Burns. They're in Colmar. John and Cindy Clark is in Huntington Valley. Tony and Jamie Parson in Cinnaminson and Runnymede, New Jersey. See the Vogelsang family. In Flowertown, the Samraglia family. And in Ocean City, it's Chris and Donna Ryan. In Sea Isle, see the McCann family. Sea Isle and Ocean City are open Fridays and Saturdays, noon to 5. And congrats to Sam Cancelleri and Irish Mike McGarry. Their Medford, New Jersey location is now open. Coming soon, it's going to happen to Northeast Philly, Home Circle. Congrats to the Graziani family. Remember the website, though. It's easy to get all this stuff. WeLoveCrabCakes.com. Dom Giordano Show. Welcome in. Chris Christie, Dan, tweeting this out. This guy has no shame. He's beyond belief. He has a picture of himself in the box next to Jerry Jones.
Is Chris Christie Meatball?
Yes. And here's what he said. I was just a guy in the bleachers on Sunday. Hey, buddy, you weren't in the bleachers. You were in a fancy box, scarfing down thousands of dollars of food, it looks like.
Well, I don't think he could sit in bleachers because apparently he likes to punch people when he goes into the normal bleachers.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that?
Yeah. But after tonight, Trump will know we're never getting back together again. What the heck is this?
Oh, Taylor Swift over here.
Yeah. Is that what he's going for? He's playing off Taylor Swift?
Yeah, she has a whole song about that, Dom.
Oh. So Christie now is a Taylor Swift. He's a 2-count indictment here.
So what was the actual phrase he used?
The phrase he used, he says, but after tonight, Trump will know that we're never getting back together. Maybe that's what he's going for.
Yeah, I wonder if he's referencing the Taylor Swift news from over the weekend with Travis Kelce. And
now,
all that.
He doesn't have any food in the picture, but it looks like he's ordering something.
Yeah,
He's a guy, but what, just more.
Just below the window are 5 hot dogs.
Yeah. God. And the score is 15-9 when he's making his first order here, it looks like. Okay. So, Christie will try to draw Trump into this again tonight, even though he's not there. It's really hard to do. You heard Bill Hemmer, Mike Pence taking the mantle, Ronald Reagan. Now, Mike Pence is no Ronald Reagan. All right. But I'm sure that's, I just can't stomach Mike Pence. I'm turning the sound off when he starts to talk every time and turning it back on tonight.
I don't think there's anyone. We got to do a side question. Who is boring?
Yes,
I don't
Pence
know if there's anyone more boring than Mike Pence.
You know why? Every word is calculated. Notice how hard it is to speak his speech pattern because he's calculating everything that he's saying.
I don't get it though, because he was a pretty decent talk radio host, and you need to emote to have that job.
I don't know if I heard him do talk radio. His name recognition.
So I base that judgment. So he's been on the show a couple of times, and every time he comes on with you, he lets some personality shine through. It's like the guy. He's not turned on to the robotic Mike Pence that he's instructed to be or something like that.
You're right. Yeah, when he comes on the show here, he has been less of that. But no, it's brutal. And in comparison to Vivek, I mean, it's like a split screen. And then Ukraine on top of it thrown in. So Ukraine tonight, Ronald Reagan Library. We'll see how much. The Republican Party has changed, though. For better or for worse, I think for better. That's one of Trump's major legacies. No more of this warmongering. No more of these unending wars. And look at what we've learned about Ukraine this week, that we've already given them $25 billion. I played it a lot.